Hi, this is David Haslett, and this video is about designing currency. What we're doing right now in my classes is we're designing a new $20 bill. So we're considering different people we might put on the front, different objects, different animals, different symbols, trying to be really communicative and symbolic in what we choose, because this is art. That's what we do. We communicate visually, and we try to do it deeply and meaningfully in ways to change lives, ideally. So for this project, what we're doing is we're focusing on line and texture, pattern, and we are using a few different kinds of media. So we're doing color pencil, we're doing ink, and we're doing watercolor. Those are all options. So let me show you guys what we are doing right now. I'm going to show you one of our screens. This is one possibility. I brought out this bear, and for one demonstration, I sketched out this bear. I'm using geometric shapes like one of the other video talks about. I'm doing some shading with pencil, you'll notice, and then I took different colored pencils and I'm going to different lines. Notice how they're paralleling but changing direction. So this is one detail. I mentioned watercolor. Let me describe this one a little bit. This is a watercolor wash where I'm going from one color and I'm fading down. When I do this, I actually put it on a board and I prop the board up so that gravity helps take this down line by line. It's a fun project. And this is an extra sheet just to test sample. And I thought I'd use it as an example to show how to do the background. Taped it off this way I could focus on one area. And then I did some pen around some sections and notice the sky. I'm looking for excuses to have these parallel lines. So I'm stylizing it a little bit that way. I put a big 20. I actually looked up a font. I didn't just go for it, but going for it can be fun. But fonts can let us know a little bit more about balance of these different shapes. Speaking of balance, notice how I've got this line over here on the left side. I needed something to balance out this 20. Everything we look at in the middle has visual weight, so the left has to weigh as much as the right. How do you do it? Darker things and more detailed things weigh more. So I needed something over here that was darker. I just chose this strip. I'm just pretending it's an anti-counterfeiting measure. Something like that will make it hard to make fake if this were an actual document. And the duck, what's with the duck? I think maybe subconsciously I was thinking bill. I'm redesigning a bill, haha, here's a mallard duck. And I did some shading with lines and dots. One student said, that's a pretty big duck, Mr. Haslett. And so, rolling with the good feedback, I put this box around it to give a sense of maybe zooming in, a little bit of a detail. Anyway, that's that, using a watercolor wash as a background. Moving on, this is Iwo Jima. This came from another student who wanted to show an example of perseverance and victory. So here's a flag being raised. Notice the diagonal show action, so that's a really good move. Here I used a source picture and I did this demonstration with pencil, going a little pen over the top of it. And notice the fade, the color fade. This is what I wanted to highlight. I've got this bright green, this olive green, and this blue, and I'm alternating the direction of those parallel lines. This olive green being a good in between. So here we go. This example for today, I'm going to go for this American buffalo, this bison. Here's what it might look like at the end. This is what I did in an earlier demo. Notice the parallel lines again. Notice the pencil shading. So I've already got the darks and lights set. I'm just using the color for accent. Here I've got a quickly resketched bison, and I've got some colored pencil. So what I'm going to do is simply parallel lines. And I'm just shading with those where I already know shading will be. Sun's coming down from the right, so I'm going to have some of the lighter, warmer colors like orange on that side. Maybe over here on the top, I'll go even more loosely and widely. I need to bring out some of that red to balance it. So more parallel lines right over the pencil that I've got. I can also start defining this a little bit better with marker. And as always, with marker, with anything dark, you can always add more. So the trick is not to do too much. So I can continue this with more detail. Try to make this bill-like. The more lines and patterns I can add, the more this will look like currency. Here I'm crossing over lines, going for some cross-hatching. And I just continue with this. I'm also going to add a little bit of purple into the shadows. You know, one student has a connection with the Cayman Islands, and she showed me a bill there with the Queen of England and done in purples and blues. And I thought, wow, this is surprisingly incredible. I was really impressed. It's unexpected, you know, using those cool colors for a person and royalty even too. So sometimes you might just try something not knowing what it will look like, but it could be that you're really onto something. That'll be surprising and memorable. Anyway, I can keep on going with this, but it could look like something like this at the end. And that is one way of doing that. Currency, looking at lines, texture, patterns, looking for symbolism behind what creatures, what objects, what settings we choose. That's what this is about, making meaning through art.